Hi, beautifully beloved beings. It's me, Serenity, here in this moment, channeling the essence of divinity, as we all have the power of doing. It's just about us opening up our heart spaces enough to connect and act as a vessel through which love may stream through endlessly, because we do have the capacity to hold an endless amount of love, whether we are in tune with that truth or not. It is the utmost truth. Sorry, I'm not nestled in the cozy quietude of nature by myself like I usually am. I was actually at work, but it was really slow, so I decided to just take a break, and I had a message on my heart that just wanted to burst through me and be channeled. Um, Usually I would wait until I'm all by myself and I have some time to go to the beach or take a hike or something, but I don't know, I'm just so in tune with following my heart in this season of my life, and probably forevermore, that I can't wait. I don't have time to wait, like, because there's just going to be another message, another revelation just going to build on top of each other, and then I just don't have time to do that anymore. And the message that I wanted to talk about today was in regards to one twin being existing on a different spectrum slash wavelength of awakening, because as twins we're both awakened on some level. Otherwise you wouldn't be a twin, because you have to be on a certain level of consciousness, even if it's unconscious, to exist as a twin, because essentially the twin flame journey is a heightened perspective of what it means to have an unconditionally loving relationship, which we all have the capacity for, but we all exist on different levels of awareness and consciousness, so therefore we perceive ourselves in relation to the world and in relation to others differently based on our level of consciousness. And I'm trying to get out of the whole levels thing, because that kind of makes it seem like some of us are lower than others, so I want to talk about it on like a spectrum, as far as where you're at as far as expanding your essence into grounding a certain level of a certain level of spiritual awareness and understanding, because it's just because we all have the capacity to do it, and then if you put it on levels, it's like, oh, they don't have the capacity to do it because blah blah blah. But I don't feel that way, and I never want to, because that feels like some level of judgment, and I'm not in a space where I can judge someone for not existing how I exist, because at some point I'm sure I was there, maybe in another life, maybe a couple years ago. And I say maybe because sometimes I can't remember all the happenings and goings on from the past, because I'm so here now, I'm so present now, and I'm so focused on being here now, as well as knowing that I'm only going to elevate from here. So I don't really have time to think about past memories, but I do want to gain a higher level of a deeper understanding of how my patterns of behaving and my dynamics in my relationships are impacted by past lives. So I know that sounds contradictory in a sense, but in a much more broad level, having that awareness of past lives helps us to heal the patterns of this life. So it does make sense, but there's a lot of paradoxes in life, so that's how life is. So whenever I give my perspective, it's only from my experience and my vantage point. I'm not trying to change or shift anybody's level of awareness. I'm just giving my perspective, and I'm being guided to do so. So that's why I'm here right now. But as far as awakening, one of the last messages I sent my twin was a video clip from a movie by the name of Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, which is essentially about a twin flame relationship. I would go into the details, but I would just be explaining forever. If you know what the twin flame dynamic is, I'm sure that you'll understand where I'm coming from when I give this. Oh my god, my hand looks so, what is that? It looks like my hand is like I feel like a light bearer right now, like I'm totally bearing the light. That is so, that's trippy. I'm always getting sidetracked because my thoughts are always in multiple dimensions all at once. But okay, so the last message I sent my twin is, come find me when you wake up. And I will give a short synopsis of what the scene was about. So the guy was initially he wasn't on the front lines in war. He was just kind of like a commander of sorts or something. And then the person above him put him into the battlefield, and he was deathly afraid of going to the battlefield because he knew that he would be setting himself up to die. He knew that that was the end goal, and he wasn't in the right mind state to deal with that kind of truth, that he was putting himself in the position to die. He more so just wanted to support the troops and talk about it. He didn't want to experience it. He definitely didn't. And so he was essentially forced to do so, and he had no way out of it. If he didn't, he would just be imprisoned, or he didn't have a choice, actually. So they sent him down there to do that. And when he got there, he was trembling, like shaking. His soul was not for it. He was deathly afraid in the deepest sense. So he went there, and then when he got on the battlefield, he ended up dying. But it wasn't a forever dying. He died, and then he woke up back in the position to start it all over again. So he just kept dying and waking up and dying and waking up. And then he would always be able to maneuver himself better from a higher perspective because he already knew what was going to happen. And every time he would come back, he would try to do something different so that he can make for a better outcome. And on some days he didn't want to do anything. He's like, I'm not going through this again. Like, I'm just gonna go to a bar and have a beer. I don't have time to be dealing with this over and over again. Like, this is too hard. I'm keep trying, new things, and nothing's panning out. Nothing's getting better. I just keep dying. So it's like, what is the point if I'm just gonna keep dying? But he ended up meeting this lady, and her name she was called the Angel of Verdun, and I think Verdun was just the place for which they lived, or whatever. And basically, she was the angel, and she was able to kill off all of the soldiers and stuff, and all of the opponents, all of the people that they were against. They were like this alien life force that was taking over the planet. And anyways, she was so good at it because, unbeknownst to the person watching the video, watching the movie, she had that same affliction, she was at a certain level of ascension because she had killed off one of the alien life forces. And when you kill off one of the alien life forces, somehow the bigger part of the alien life force, the godhead of the alien life force, knows that you killed off one of the alien descendants. Sorry guys, I was trying something new because I didn't want to hold my phone and have my arms hurting. But anyways, so the bigger alien life force, the bigger alien consciousness, knows that you killed off one of their consciousness. So then you keep coming back because they want to defeat you and kill you. Because if they defeat you and kill you, they know that you're getting closer to figuring out how to defeat them. So then they want to kill you off, and that's why their mark is put on you. So in any event, before he died, initially before he died, he killed off one of those alien life forces as well. So then now they both have, I guess, what others would call supernatural psychic powers, because it seems like they know more than other people do, because they were able to access a certain part of themselves and realize a certain part of themselves by killing off this supposedly higher consciousness alien form. And so when she noticed, okay, first actually I think he noticed her. I don't know how it how it turned out. They just kind of looked at each other in the eye and they were like, I don't know, there's something about you, I don't know what it is, but whatever. And then she recognized him for like a split second, and she said, she's right when they were on the battlefield trying to kill off the alien life forces because they both came back again, and she said, she looked him in his eye and she said, come find me when you wake up. And he was like, wait, what? And then right after he said, wait, what, he exploded, and a bomb came down and he exploded into pieces and he died. But then he woke up immediately and he turned around and there was a bus coming by with the angel of Verdun on the bus. And then he knew, it just clicked. He's like, oh, I have to come find her when I wake up. And then he went to find her. She was in the room training and she had also died again. So then they had to kind of remember. He was like, you told me to come find you when you wake up. When I wake up, you know, we were on the beach and I exploded and you told me. And then so basically we have to keep reminding each other. That's what the twin flame thing is. We have to keep reminding each other of who we are and what we came here for. Like, we have, seriously, we have divine data encoded within our bloodstream. And I don't know how I achieved or got this. I don't know how I got this way. That's why I'm really interested in my past lives, to figure out how my level of consciousness got here. Like, it blows my mind every time I think about it. Like, I can't believe it. And I know for a fact that my twin is at a very similar level of consciousness. Like, we met and I didn't even know about who he was. I didn't know he was a music artist. I didn't know like anything about him. I think he reached out to me on an online profile, and then we ended up meeting in person, and he started telling me about like astral projection and like just the dream world and binaural beats, just really spiritual things that made sense to me, but I hadn't even tapped into myself. So then we went, and I remember the last thing he said to me before he left and we parted ways was that I can see myself falling in love with you. And I don't know if he remembers saying that, but I do. But in any event, we ended up parting ways for 5 years, and in those 5 years I was trying to find myself and even get up to that level of consciousness to where he was. So it takes time for both of us, but we need each other in specific moments to help awaken those parts of us. So we're both awakened to a certain degree, whether we know it or not, and then it takes time and experiences to continue that awakening process. And I also remember that was the first guy that I had a date with that I just enjoyed so much, and we didn't even have to have sex. Like, it wasn't about, ooh, let's just do some mental foreplay and whatever, just all those mental games that people play in the dating. I don't even like the dating world anymore. If I don't feel an instant connection with you and I don't feel like something deep within my bones and that breathes a fire into my heart, I'm not for it. I don't have time for it. I have love within myself enough, and I can entertain myself enough to stay with myself. Like, I don't need it, so I'm good. Sometimes I get lonely, but I don't know. This is the life I chose, and this is the life I want to lead. So I'm not going to be doing anything other than what I feel like doing. If it's not aligned with my heart space, I'm not interested. So we ended up splitting and parting ways for 5 years. And then I remember I was in a relationship dynamic with someone that just wasn't for me. It was someone that I was trying to raise up the potential in him, and he saw something in me. I think he wanted to date an empowered, intelligent African American woman, because he was very into Tupac and black empowerment and what was his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. I cannot remember it. I hate when that happens. Oh, I feel like it's trying to come out, but it won't. Anyways, he was into just black empowerment, because he was Hispanic, and I think he wanted to see what it was that the African Americans had, because we're both minorities, African American and black minorities according to society. He wanted to see, I think he wanted to see like what is it in the African American community and that our people are not having, so that we can elevate ourselves. Because I always date people who are visionaries and think outside of the box, and that's what initially attracted me to him. And but then the relationship wasn't going anywhere because he wasn't able and willing to elevate in heart consciousness and connect with his emotions. He was very disconnected from himself, and I'm sure I was to some degree too, because I attracted him. But it just got to a certain point where we weren't elevating together. It was just kind of, it was energetic dissonance. That's as much as I'm going to say about that situation. And then we just kind of, our connection just kind of trickled away and fell apart. But I did have to face a deep dark part of myself, and so did he, because we were both stepping out on the relationship. We weren't receiving certain things that we needed from each other. He felt insecure in that he was never going to be enough for me, and it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because it played out. I would vocalize my needs on many occasions, for which he would either say, "Well, I can't do that, this is just me, you're just going to have to accept me," or he would try it for 1 second, and then he would think he basically changed the world and changed the whole dynamic of the relationship, and he was the king of the world. And but then it only lasted for a second, and then it wasn't genuine, it wasn't sincere. It was just because I asked for it, and I could tell in his actions. And so it just was not working out. And at that point in time, I was like at a job where I felt drained. I was a social worker, trying to figure out what was missing in the world of social services, so that I can make a deeper impact. But I felt like there was some kind of blockage in me, and I had to step away from it and realize myself on a deeper level spiritually to see what direction I was meant to go in, because there was energetic dissonance in that relationship between job and person and my person. So I had to detach myself from that, and detaching myself from that relationship and from my work was very disheartening, because those were my lifelines, because I wasn't connected to myself enough to have a lifeline, and that's when my spiritual awakening bursted open, because I'm like, there is something deeper going on here, and there is something deeper in me that is just dying to breathe. Like, I felt like I wasn't able to breathe. And I remember going on a trip out of town to New Orleans, because I felt like there was a past life connection there. I felt like something there was calling me there, like my soul. It's just something about the bayou, something about like saxophone and jazz music, and the antiquated kind of vintage houses, the Victorian houses. It just all felt like home to me. And when I went there, I got to go to the butterfly garden and go to a bayou with alligators, and it was just wonderful. It was just absolutely freaking wonderful. And I felt a connection, but I couldn't really tap into it as much, because my heart wasn't fully awakened to making those kind of connections. I was spiritually and kind of mentally in tune, but my heart wasn't awakened to obtain the timeless transmissions that wanted to speak to me through my heart. My heart wasn't open. And so I'm trying to relate that back to the fact that there's different levels and types of consciousness. So my twin opened me up spiritually and consciously in that sense, and then but my heart wasn't open. And so after that breakup with my relationship and with the job, I just felt the strongest, the most palpable pull towards my twin. I didn't know he was my twin at that time. I just had this pull to talk to him. And I was sending him all of this spiritual, deeply profound, love-laden poetry and visuals. Like, it was intense, and I didn't know where all the information was coming from, but it was like straight from my heart and soul. And I know I needed to get that information to him. That's why it's so important to follow your intuition and trust your intuition. And so I just had this deep pull to give all this information to him, and then we eventually connected via Instagram, then via phone, and then in person. And now we're at a point where we're both in connection. Yes, we know that there is a connection. Yes, that is solidified. There's no doubt. We both know that there is some kind of deeply profound connection. That is a solidity. There's no question. It's unquestionable. Okay? And we bring out this particular magic in each other that we didn't know even existed. We had an idea that it could exist outside of ourselves, but never within ourselves, and trusted it enough to follow with it and flow with it and let it flourish. until now being in connection with one another. And now it's important for me to be patient and send my twin compassion as his heart consciousness begins to awaken. Because my heart consciousness didn't fully awaken until most recently. And I didn't have to purge. I had to do an emotional purge and have a lot of deep realizations and just really all-encompassing epiphanies to get to this point. And my heart had to be broken completely open on several occasions for me to get to this level of heart consciousness, to hold this love and hold that space in my heart for love and light to infiltrate and get through. And so that I know that it is the time for my twin to go through. I know he's already been through a heartbreak. I know that he already did. And I want to piggyback on my last video where I talked about the fact that I sent him a message indicating that the notion of suicide just keeps coming to my head because of the synchronicity between coyotes and my twin. Every time we see a coyote, it's like a message from spirit telling us that there's something we need to tune into and pay attention to. And so 2 coyotes ran in front of my car, nearly died. It's almost like they were trying to commit suicide because they were so close to my car, and it was like they ran out as soon as my car came. Like the timing was too close to just be a coincidence. It was a synchronicity. And after I sent him that message and told him that I feel like the suicide is indicative of the fact that we are committing suicide on a deep level spiritually to open up to this kind of love, and also maybe in a past life one of us actually literally committed suicide, or one of our romantic counterparts that have fallen really deeply in love with our souls is contemplating suicide, is going to contemplate suicide because they're going to have to detach from us in that way, because that the love is not an energetic match. The level of love, the level of heart consciousness is not an energetic match anymore between us and those romantic counterparts. It's going to fall away, and on some level they're going to want to commit suicide because we were the only ones that can awaken that kind of love in them, because it's awakened in ourselves. And that kind of love is hard to find because not a lot of people are willing to open up to this deep love, because you know that it's going to end at some point, but it's eternal in spirit, so it can never end. And that's why in my sense I'm trying to reiterate to my twin that it is eternal, and we know each other and we've known each other before, and we have to break this pattern right now, right here, if we want to continue and elevate in love and elevate in life and ascend and get to the mission that we were destined to partake in tandem with each other. We are always working on mission in tandem with each other when we're healing aspects of ourselves and ascending, so we don't have to be together to be in mission. But it is essential that our hearts are open and awakened and trusting in it. That's another thing. If your twin is doubtful about the connection and not trusting, then that doubt is going to infiltrate the dynamic of the relationship, because that has happened to me on so many occasions and it's caused so many separations. My twin would doubt it. It would be a mix between doubting and believing. One time he said, "Oh, probably this is probably a forever thing," and that probably just stood out to me so intensely that I just disregarded the forever. And so I'm like, probably. I'm like, so he doesn't believe in this love? And I'm like, I don't believe in it either. If you don't believe in it, I'm not going to believe in it. And then we were close to meeting this time, and I didn't want to see him in person because I knew how everything was going to play out. We were going to get together, make sweet love, and then he was going to detach himself and then go and spread his energetic essence all up and throughout other women. And that's not fair for me. Especially given the fact that all the love that he could ever desire is right here in my heart. He might have some other lessons to learn with other people, and that's great, but that's great for him and that's great for us. I want him to learn those lessons. I'm not saying he just has to be with me in this moment in time. I want him to learn those lessons. But and that's why the twin flame dynamic can get so complicated, because it's not a normal romantic concept of love. It's something greater than that. It's beyond love. It's beyond the relationship dynamic that society has constructed for us. It's something way beyond that, and it's worth exploring, because of its timeless essence, and it's worth it to help uplift the collective so that they can see that there's something greater than what they're experiencing, deeper than what they're experiencing, to bring out an even deeper fervor for life, to be expressed through their being. And so at this point in time, I know that my twin, his heart is broken. It is breaking. And he doesn't even know that through the breaking of his heart, that light is gonna have the opportunity to shine straight through it. And I just feel so blessed that in this moment in time, I'm not allowing the separation to break me down and allow doubt to infiltrate my system. And so if your twin is doubting, it's really important for you to align with truth and trust and hope and high vibrations to keep you both elevated on a higher level. You don't let your twin bring you down just because they're down and trying to figure things out. You keep that trust in your heart so that they can align with it. That's why we balance each other out as counterparts. You don't just sit back and wait for your twin and say, oh, I wish my twin would just get it together. Oh, I'm just gonna do whatever. And no, like, you have to align with what it is that you want and what it is that you believe in. And that's how destiny is manifested. And it's by your belief and your faith and your trust in that which it is that you were destined to experience. Once you begin to doubt it, that infiltrates into the energetic essence of the relationship dynamic in itself. So you must continue to vibrate high, and you must continue to allow love to enter your system so that your heart can expand and you can embody more love. And then you have to kind of lead by example, especially if you're the older twin and you've gone through certain life lessons. You have to engender that knowingness within and move forward as a shining example, not just for your twin, for the conscious collective, to let everyone know that they can operate from this level of heart awareness. So don't allow your twin, wherever their level of consciousness is at, to make you doubt yourself, doubt your soul truth. Your soul knows the truth, and you must follow your intuition and follow your heart. And if you want your twin to open up his heart and follow his heart, then you have to open up your heart and follow your heart and trust in the intuitive knowingness of your heart. And don't be afraid to say anything. Be truthful, be vocal. You have a voice. Your voice matters. And even if your twin doesn't get what you're saying right now, they will come to understand it in their own timing. There is no rush. We have forever. Silence the ego and tune in with spirit, with the omniscient knowingness of spirit. And be blessed and be grateful that you're on this journey. I know that it's tough. I know that it's hard. But the strongest warriors hold the capacity to endure this suffering. And suffering only only happens if you allow the situation, if you make it feel like the situation is happening to you instead of for you. You have to know that you're responding to the universe. You don't have to just react off of emotion. Respond to it so that you can maneuver it, mold it, maneuver it with ease, and mold it into that which you want your reality to manifest into. You have the power in you. You have the power inside of you to manifest all the desires of your heart. Sometimes in an instant, if you align with the highest vibration so that you can continue elevating. So don't doubt the twin flame connection. There's no room for doubt anymore. We've been down that road before. It's time to follow love, follow through with love, and do the inner work that it takes to contain the capacity of it so that it can explode within and without you into the conscious collective. Because on a conceptual level, the overarching mission is to be a pure expression of love. And that's what I was trying to convey to my twin, is that this love is sacred and this love is pure. And if it's being spread throughout multiple lovers, then in some sense you're lying to yourself, and you're lying to the other people, because they're thinking that they have something special with you. But in essence, if you're trying to get something from multiple people, it's almost like we're stealing something from them that we don't have in ourselves, that we haven't yet realized in ourselves. Because I know that there's one person. I know that there's one person, the twin flame. There's one person that has that seamless connection with another person. But that's from my perspective. Others might not feel the same. But I feel that purity comes from righteousness and uprightness. And if there's some even subtle level of dishonesty with yourself or with others, then it's not pure. That's the only thing I'm saying. And we have to go through the suffering and the heartbreak, the perceived suffering and the heartbreak, so that we can be purified and we can experience the purity of love. And if your twin is seeing multiple partners, or is being abusive, or is being manipulative, that doesn't mean stay with your twin just because he's your twin. You're allowed to set boundaries. You're allowed to vocalize what it is that you're willing and not willing to tolerate. You don't have to just put up with anything just because that is your twin. And if you're going through that experience of being emotionally or physically abused or manipulated, it's because you're aligning yourself with it. When you begin to align with higher vibrations and do not accept that kind of behavior from someone, then you will not experience it, because you will not tolerate it, and you won't be in anyone's energetic presence to even receive that kind of treatment. Because you don't deserve that kind of treatment, no matter what kind of background you came from, no matter what your relationship dynamic was with other people, with your parents, and you received that kind of emotional abuse or abandonment or physical abuse, just because that was what you learned was love. No, you can create a new mode of love at any time, at any moment, and you're allowed to break free from any of those cycles and experience what it is that you truly came here to experience. The purity of sacred love, of unconditional love. And you can have an unconditional love for someone, but also allow them to experience your love from afar. Just because you have unconditional love doesn't mean that you are willing to put up with certain things. Unconditional love also stems to unconditional love for yourself. And if you're putting up with that kind of treatment, you don't have unconditional love for yourself. You have conditions on your love, and you're willing to sacrifice a part of you just so someone will love you. And that's not the sanctity of love. That's actually unconditional love disguised as self-hatred. And so it's really important to always go deeper and go deeper into those emotions and feelings, so you can get to the core of what it is that is really happening, so that we can heal ourselves and reveal the truest, most precious parts of ourselves that want to be expressed for the world to experience and feel and see. And when you are not in connection with your twin, you express your love to the world so that you can also help others realize themselves, because that's a part of the mission as well, is to help others realize themselves. Once you are leading by example and being a realized version of yourselves, you give others the opportunity to awaken that part of themselves and also live through love, express through love, live through truth, express through truth, be righteous, and and love yourself and others deeply. And also, you don't have to close off a part of yourself and love less just because someone is not able to love you as deeply as you're able to love. Don't ever shut off a part of yourself because someone else is not at that same level of able to accept, embody, and receive and give that kind of love back to you. So just continue to align with love at its highest extent, so that you can continue expanding consciousness individually and collectively with your twin and with the collective whole in unity consciousness. So I think that was all for today, my beloveds. I think my channeling is done. Even though I'm not in nature, I am near some really beautiful purple flowers, which is relevant to just like psychic connections, psychic awareness, being deeply connected with the subtle energies. So it's very symbolic either way. But I think I'm going to get back to work because I've been on break and nobody knows. So hopefully nobody finds out. And I hope this message helps someone. I hope someone can resonate with this. And I hope it keeps us all on a, moving on the highest wave of vibrations. So blessed be, beautifully beloved beings. Like I said, I'll put my information in the my contact information in the description box below if you would like to connect. And have a beautifully blessed day. Bye-bye.